A couple young recent lottery picks are finally living up to their expectations. This season, Brandon Ingram has proven to become a first-time All-Star after being selected second overall more than 3.5 years ago. The 22-year-old will be getting paid big bucks this coming summer. The season before, second overall pick from the 2015 draft, D'Angelo Russell became a proven star with the Brooklyn Nets, now on his fourth different team, viewed as the savior for the Timberwolves. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. With 2/3 of the regular season completed, young players will be getting more playing time from non-playoff teams and look to prove their worth for the coming years. It takes some guys longer to develop since many one-and-dones aren't ready to become difference makers in the NBA right away. Let's take a look at 5 players who are supposed to be stars by now and aren't, and what happened. Myles Turner of the Indiana Pacers, who was discussed during the trade deadlines he would be available. The 6'11" center's now in his 5th season and shown plenty of upside his first couple years. Has been a starter since the second half of his rookie season, but his averages of 11.9 points, 6 rebounds, 2 block shots hasn't been overly impressive since it's his lowest scoring and rebounding number since his rookie season. Just a rotational player on the Pacers as the 5th and 6th option. Drafted 11th overall out of the University of Texas in the 2015 draft, Turner's athleticism and defensive presence made him one of the best rim protectors. Considered a perfect modern 5 who provides spacing, shot blocking with decent enough foot speed to handle perimeter switches. Defensively, he's fantastic, has the case to make all defensive team, but the inefficiency on the offensive end doesn't help compared to averaging 14.5 points his second season as a 20-year-old on 51% shooting, now shooting 45% from the field. For a near 7-footer is not a recipe for success, being on a diminished role. With former point guard Darren Collison in the 2017-18 season, 1/3 of Turner's assisted baskets came from Collison. But now with a much improved Domantas Sabonis, who's way better on the post, has more skills offensively than Turner, more reliable and fundamentally sound, averaging over 18 a game, 12.5 rebounds, even almost 5 assists on 54% shooting. Most of the screens are generated with Sabonis, now with Malcolm Brogdon running the show at the point. Turner's getting less touches this season, with the team having another guy putting up over 18 in T.J. Warren, who's one of the most efficient mid-range shooters in the game. In the starting lineup, Turner would get the ball less often compared to previous years. The other 4 guys can all create their shots to some degree and are more polished. Unless he plays with the second unit, Turner will have more opportunities to get shots up. In reality, the 6'11" center's just not polished enough in the post to put up solid scoring numbers for his size, and if he remains with the Pacers, I don't ever see him averaging more than 15 points per game. Now with Victor Oladipo's return, there's been plenty of confusion already. I won't be shocked if the Pacers lose in the first round again. Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic. It is absolutely tragic he still hasn't won a dunk contest. Robbed in 2020 after putting on an absolute clinic, was arguably robbed again in 2016, had 2 or 3 of the top 5 dunks in All-Star Weekend history. As for his game, many don't get a chance to watch him play. On a below-average Magic franchise, the team don't have much national TV games. Already in his 6th season, the 24-year-old hasn't taken the next step, drafted right behind Joel Embiid and ahead of the likes of Zach LaVine and Nikola Jokic as the starting power forward, making only the postseason once his first 5 seasons. Gordon was viewed as a tremendous elite athlete with versatility, drawing many comparisons to the likes of Shawn Marion and Blake Griffin as a 2-way elite defensive presence in the front court, being able to guard forwards and wings, but hasn't even come close to being the player he was envisioned to be. Average single digits of 5 and 9 per game his first 2 seasons, average under 18 and 8 in year 4, but took a step back, putting up 16 a game in 2019, only 14 a game, 7 rebounds this season, averaging just half a block. Given how high he jumps from being on the trade market discussions, AG doesn't seem like he's improved much with the Magic. At times, he gets lost defensively and gives little effort. Perhaps he needs a change of scenario quickly. All the guys on his team knows they won't get far anyway. Making over 18 and 16 mil after 2020, he has some highlights here and there, but still not known for hitting big time shots. The fact that his biggest NBA moments was being robbed in 2 dunk contests and not by his performances in the real games doesn't give us any reason to be optimistic about his development. One of the teams that can use him for 2021, the Denver Nuggets, in replacement of Paul Millsap, without an elite jumper, not much of a ball handler, lacking foot speed, and never playing with an elite point guard, his flaws coming into the league continues to remain flaws 5.5 years later. Playing on a Magic team will never help him improve his game. It's more than likely Gordon will never become an NBA All-Star. Still has a couple years left to fully reach his ceiling. he would be viewed as a useful role player on a contender as a fourth option. Lauri Markkanen of the Chicago Bulls. After a terrific rookie season, the 7-foot power forward seemed like Dirk 2.0 with his shooting range, having the handles to get to the basket, and a polished offensive game. Looked like one of the best players in the 2017 draft, but having an absolute nightmare season, averaging just 15 a game, 6.5 rebounds on 42% shooting, all lower than his rookie season. After a stellar sophomore year, putting up 18.7 points, 9 rebounds, he's regressed it, being out since January 23rd with a hip injury. The franchise desperately counted on him and Zach LaVine to get the team back to the postseason, but it doesn't look like it'll happen this year. While LaVine's doing his part, putting up over 25 a game, the 7-footer has 9 games this season already, scoring under single digits, more than each of his first 2 seasons. The coaching staff has done a terrible job at not getting Markkanen the ball. Jim Boylen has been an awful coach, and every Bulls fans know that. Before the season, Boylen told a group of reporters, "We believe in the math and we coach to the math." While starting 3-7 and ranked 26 in offensive rating over the first couple weeks, they're not that much better, now ranked 24th. And plenty of times, LaVine ignored Boylen's offense and takes it upon himself to be assertive. While Boylen's trying to force his style down his players' throats, Markkanen had many games in the past proving he's capable to become a future all-star. He's gotta be more demanding. Being extremely passive, combined with a terrible coaching staff surrounding him, his confidence simply not there, likely returning sometime in March. The team has no reliable playmaker, overpaid for average Thomas Satoransky. Defensively, Markkanen's a below average rim protector, averaging only half a block a game, and when he struggles shooting the ball, the 7-foot European simply doesn't provide much in other aspects of his game. An average rebounder with big questions in the future whether the former 7th overall pick will ever have a well-rounded game instead of being just a knockdown shooter. Will he ever be a number 1 or 2 option on a contender or just a complimentary piece? Being eligible for his first major contract in 2020, the final stretches of this season will be extremely vital, or if he becomes a restricted free agent with no contract extension. The Bulls need to fire Boylen immediately and surround Markkanen with a better coach. Otherwise, he might walk away for nothing in free agency and get on a better team. In the long run, I don't see Markkanen ever becoming a superstar. He's not as good as Kristaps Porzingis, but can be a third option on a contender playing a Kevin Love type role. Andrew Wiggins of the Golden State Warriors, who was built to become the next big thing. Experts gush over his high school mixtapes and felt they haven't experienced a guy that good as a teenager since LeBron James, and the comparisons were insane. Not only did his natural gifts help him become the first overall pick in the 2014 draft, despite many flaws in his game as we've seen during his time at Kansas. From being in Minnesota, his first 5.5 seasons with elite two-way potential, from a 2015 article put out by Bleacher Reports ranking the best players in 2020, Wiggins was ranked 2nd, only behind Anthony Davis, playing for a bad franchise, still an inconsistent outside shooter, extremely passive, doesn't demand the ball, lacks motor, and at times simply doesn't care. Terrible qualities combined with his inefficiency, he's not a bust by any means, but one of the most disappointing players, played for 4 different head coaches in 5 seasons with Minnesota, a franchise set up for failure. Many have already given up on him, but he's only turning 25 years old on February 23rd, showing flashes as a potential multiple-time All-Star, being paid like a superstar. Jimmy Butler couldn't wait to get out of Minnesota. Now he's viewed as a replacement for basically Harrison Barnes at the 3 for Golden State. When the Splash Brothers comes back, the Warriors, being a first-class organization, helped resurrect Marquise Chris's career, and Wiggins will be considered a role player going forward as a 3rd or even 4th option. Draymond Green won't let Wiggins off the hook if he's being lazy. Being put in a great position on a playoff caliber team with no pressure, Wiggins is set up to rejuvenate himself and will look to be viewed as a respectable NBA player. Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets, from his draft class, Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Pascal Siakam have all become all-stars. While Denver's currently the 2nd seed in the West, the 6'4" guard who starts at the point hasn't taken his game to the next level, and if he was a 23+ point scorer by now, the Nuggets might be the favorite to come out the West, averaging 18.9 points on 45% shooting, dishing out less than 5 assists, having the same birthday as Andrew Wiggins, but 2 years younger. The soon-to-be 23-year-old remains very unpredictable. There's nights he looks unguardable, draining threes, but there's also nights he's ice cold. Will be on the first year of his 5-year, $170 million deal in 2021. A special offensive talent, Murray's depended upon as the closer, and too often this season, the Nuggets settle for too many contested outside shots and looks to get bailed out late in the shot clock. Simply not gonna work against the best teams. Jokic is still by far the best player on the team and the most dependable scorer, averaging nearly 21. Nonetheless, Murray's not a top 10 point guard right now, might never make an All-NBA team, won't be a great defender, and will need to play out of his mind if the Nuggets want to advance to the conference finals. Honorable mentions include Jabari Parker, who's been hammered by injuries over his career, now on his 5th different team, doesn't look like he'll be anything else besides a scorer. And Jahlil Okafor, besides being a good post scorer, he's awful in everything else. We've known this for a couple years now. His game simply does not fit in the modern NBA. A bad rebounder for his size, can't play defense, will be a role player coming off the bench for the rest of his career. While Lonzo Ball's trending in the right direction, a great all-around player besides his shooting. What other NBA players did you expect to be stars by now but aren't yet? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. More good stuff coming soon. See you next time.